Hi, this is Roger Struckoff, day 3 at CloudEXPO New York, June 2017, and we're joined right now by Alan Winters with MobiDev. Now, thanks for joining us, number one. Great to have you here. By the word Mobi in the company name kind of gives us a clue on what you're doing, but tell everyone what you're all about, why you're here, what you're doing, and why that matters.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Roger. So as you said, I'm Alan Winters. I'm head of U.S. Business Development for MobiDev. MobiDev is a Ukraine-based software development company, and you are quite right. The word Mobi is really part of what we do. We do mobile development, and we're specialists in that, but we do full-stack software development for entrepreneurs, for emerging companies, and for more enterprise ventures. We work with folks in the healthcare space, financial services, security and encryption, hospitality, automotive, and all sorts of lifestyle brands. And we've been in business 7 years and have had about 250 clients, mostly US-based.
Yeah, it's interesting because people may think of mobility and access by mobile devices as sort of like an add-on, and I think that would be a mistake.
Yeah, you're quite right. It's interesting us being at CloudEXPO, because at CloudEXPO, most of the people walking the floor and who have stands or booths are in the cloud services businesses or big data businesses. What we found is many of them are not in the software development business. So where we fit in here is interesting. Yeah. It's to build the connections between what they do and what their users need. To build add-ons, all sorts of interesting stuff. We've been actually quite uplifted by how many companies here are interested in what we do.
I would think so. I've heard so many conversations these last few days about scalability, and these hardware people and these network people are insane about this because they have huge demands. But software's it's kind of hand in hand. They have to go together. I mean, it's not just like this big wall anymore between software and hardware.
No, you're quite right. And if the software is not constructed for scalability and flexibility, the hardware is not going to matter. It's not going to matter. And that's where we enter the equation. We do pretty thoughtful analysis of not where the business is, but where the business is going. So, when we speak to business owners, we usually ask them to give us a snapshot of where they are today. We ask them to give us a vision of where they want to be 1, 2, 3 years down the road. We're going to make technology choices based on those answers.
Yeah, the old joke of how many developers does it take to change a light bulb, and the answer is none, because that's a hardware problem. But now there are still hardware problems. Yes, there are still software problems, but you all kind of work together.
Yeah, it's got to come together. You're talking about it's like this. Yes. And they're, like in business, there are specialists. Even big companies, and I come out of the big company world of CBS and Fox, even at big companies, if they're smart, they recognize they can't do everything. And there's people who specialize in things that they don't need to do. So that's where we come into the mix.
What was sort of the germ of the idea? When the company first started, was it really focused on this? We've got to specialize here while at the same time addressing a core enterprise need. Was that sort of the vision from the beginning? How did they start it?
When MobiDev started 7 years ago, it was actually it's a neat story. And there's a fellow named Oleg Lola who grew up in Ukraine, who in almost a stereotypical way started getting paid to do software development when he was in 4th grade. It's a classic Eastern European rags to riches story. And he, as he got older and as he was getting paid to do this kind of work and work for established companies, he saw something that he didn't feel was quite right, which was the service providers that he was working with in Ukraine treated clients like on a transactional basis. Yeah. He also saw they treated employees on a transactional basis. what he thought was, and this is really visionary for somebody coming out of a society where private enterprise was not allowed until the last decade or two, what he decided was to build a culture. And the culture was built around people, processes, and passion. 3 Ps, and I always like alliteration. 3 Ps. Yeah, so he wanted to hire people. First criteria was people whose definition of who they were was not as grand as the definition of who they wanted to be. So if you knew how to do a certain particular kind of programming language, you were a specialist in a certain technology, and that's all you wanted to do, he had no interest in you. You had to be somebody who had a real drive to expand. From the point of view of processes, his understanding, and I love this, was that from the minute we talk to anybody, there are a series of steps that are best practices, and if the client doesn't appreciate that, that might not be our client. And lastly, passion. It's really funny, I spent a week in Kharkiv, Ukraine at the beginning of this year, and spent time with all 250-ish of our employees, and you would have thought that every person was about to release their pet project feature film that they devoted their life to, and this is their clients. They just felt that passionate. So I would say where we fit in was, yes, it was originally mobile applications, but in this day and age, we have specialists now in machine learning and artificial intelligence and virtual reality. So we're working with large enterprises that expect us to be on top of where are things going.
How are people going to find you online, social media, all that good stuff? He has a shirt with a logo on it, so that's one way, but there you go. We'll take a good look, MobiDev. But how are they going to find you?
Yes, so we're at MobiDev.biz. MobiDev has a great website with portfolio and testimonials and videos. MobiDev also has a presence on Facebook. MobiDev has a presence on LinkedIn. And I'm Alan Winters, head of U.S. Business Development. I can be found pretty easily, Alan at MobiDev.biz.
It's the easiest thing in the world, you know? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching for Syscon TV. This is Roger Strukov.